So we watched a video a while ago, we watched a video from this individual. We watched a video from this individual here. Skip intro, and they mentioned that Jon Stewart was defending J.K. Rowling, saying she's not anti-Semitic, right? And I should have known right from that moment that this person was being grossly disingenuous. And you want to know why? I was watching a random Jon Stewart video, and he was referencing this video. Basically, what happened is Jon Stewart, in this video, talks about how goblins fundamentally are anti-Semitic. Goblins play on an anti-Semitic trope of like Jewish people being like money hungry and like small and like long nose, etc. And people don't know that. And so in this video, Jon Stewart, he's like, we were just talking about it from like an interesting historical perspective. And then people were running in the news about how Jon Stewart claims that J.K. Rowling is, or they were just saying that I think they were just saying that J.K. Rowling is anti-Semitic. So Jon Stewart was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, she uses old tropes. We were talking about it in like a fun way and just understanding the historical context of these characters. And so then Skip Intro was like, oh, Jon Stewart defended J.K. Rowling as a virtue signal to say like, okay, J.K. Rowling says dumb shit about trans people. But John wasn't talking about trans people. He was talking about anti-Semitism. And they grossly misinformed their audience about the whole situation. And like, I should have known from the start that this was like an anti-Jon Stewart, like bullshit, like, you know, video. And he's just creating like an anti-Jon Stewart, like, list of videos. And here, we're going to watch the core video here.
John, every time we talk, you know I've been to bar mitzvahs.
Have you been to bar mitzvahs?
I found the 2 Jewish people in Mississippi, and I befriended them.
I think it's a wise choice. What was a bar mitzvah in Mississippi? Just out of curiosity.
It was fun. A lot of fried food.
See, back in the day, before bar mitzvahs became a thing, you just did them in the back of the synagogue. Like, you did your thing, you had to read from the Torah, and then everybody would have, like, pound cake, and you go in the back room. But now, today...
Yeah, it's like it's really just like bullshit to be like, oh, J.K. Rowling's bad. Jon Stewart defend J.K. Rowling. Jon Stewart is bad also. It's like a really free, easy virtue signal.
Today, it's
Nicki Minaj goes to that.
It's a prom.
Now, it's not even a prom. It's more like a demonstration of Gatsby. It's basically like saying, the Jews have arrived, and we are going to dazzle you with the.
Just for context, sorry for the chewing, but Jon Stewart is Jewish, so.
Access.
The Jews have arrived. That's what chapter of Harry Potter is that in? That's one of. That's when they get to Gringotts, right?
Can I tell you something about
that is
Harry
a
Potter?
wild thing.
Here's how you know, and this is the whole thing, and you don't have to use this, but this is true. Here's how you know, like, Jews are still where they are. Talking to people, what I say is, have you ever seen a Harry Potter movie? And people are all like, I love the Harry Potter movies. Like, you ever see the scenes in Gringotts Bank? And they're like, I love the scenes in Gringotts Bank. He's like, do you know what those folks that run the bank are? And they're like, what? And they're like, Jews.
And then
I remember.
And then that person says, no, goblins. And then you go,
and you're like,
you hear yourself?
Let me show you this from
it's Jewish
the Protocols
stereotype.
of the Elders of Zion. I just want to show you a caricature. And they're like, oh, look at that. That's from Harry Potter. And you're like, no, that's a caricature of a Jew from an anti-Semitic piece of literature. J.K. Rowling was like, can we get these guys to run our bank? And you're like, it's a wizarding world. It's a world where it's
you
like,
can imagine anything.
The train station has a half a thing and no one can see it. And we can ride dragons and you've got a pet owl.
And who runs the bank?
Who should run the bank? Jews.
But not only that,
No, it's.
I feel like she was like, why'd you make it so subtle?
Yeah, I mean, it's real. Like, yeah, they look like Jews. But what if the teeth were sharper? And you're like, oh, okay.
I was like 11 or 12 and was like, I love
It's incredible because you could point to any game that has goblins in it. This is really what they're pointing to is like old Jewish stereotypes. Like World of Warcraft, bro, the Goblin King is like a fat, ugly creature that has tons of money and is desperate to get money to the point where he'll kill his own people for money. That's the stereotype perpetuation. Of like anti-Semitic Jewish shit, and people don't know it. People don't actually know this. Most people aren't aware that goblins are like an anti-Semitic trope. You know, just like elves are like it's like a white trope of like, oh, beautiful, flowing, golden-haired white people. Like, you guys don't really know that. And it's good that we've been so disconnected from the stereotype that now they're just fun little creatures. But it's still an interesting conversation to have about the unintentional upholding of like anti-Semitic shit, right?
Harry Potter, and I remember like being in the theater and being like, this is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, elves.
That's
It might have been the first time I said the F word.
11-year-old Henrik does not.
Elves are like usually like sleek, white, very like Eurocentric standards, long, flowing, beautiful hair. Yeah, they're very white centric. Yeah,
Swear.
really, you could probably make an argument of almost even being Aryan centric, but
Ooh,
That was one of those
that's
things
not
where
good.
you expect. It reminded me of those horror movies where
greed is just a bad trait, right? What makes it associated with Jewish people? Because goblins were created to be caricatures of Jewish people. Like, that's where the stereotype comes from. Like, goblins they made goblins literally as a negative depiction of Jewish people. Like, that's an objective truth. And over time, I suppose we've lost the understanding that they were Jewish caricatures, which is like a good thing. But it still exists, right? So is saying a lot of bankers are Jewish anti-Semitic, or is that a fact? I think I don't know the specific history, but I think that there was like a country a long time ago. I don't know the specifics, so don't shit them down my throat. Where they almost saw people who ran banks as like less than, so they let Jewish people do it, something like that. And so like there became a disproportionate amount of Jewish people represented in the banking system due to that. And then that's where the stereotype was perpetuated against. That's my understanding. So,
like everybody's been taken over by the thing, but you haven't. So you're looking around, and every time someone sees you, they go, ah! It was one of those things where I saw it on the screen, and I was expecting the crowd to be like, holy shit, she did not, in a wizarding world, just throw Jews in there to run the fucking underground bank. And everybody was just like, wizards.
It's
It was
crazy.
so weird. Even Dobby was like, that's fucked up. Those are Jews.
no, I don't think that we should shit on her. I don't think that we should shit on her at all for making goblins running the banks. This is the thing, right? So we created, or society created, or some society created goblins as a racist or an anti-Semitic caricature of Jewish people. Then the caricature slowly got disconnected from the Jewish people in general. It was probably through like the reinforcement of like mythical creatures being presented, but like like without people caring, because anti-Semitism has been very normalized. And then through media, we just get familiar with goblins, right? So like the original fantasy writers were probably like, oh, goblins, I hate Jews. And then it became like, oh, look, goblins for like the reader. And slowly we've lost the connection between goblin and Jewish person. And so now you just see a character that is like, oh, this is a money-driven character. We should have a money-driven, greedy character play a banker, because bankers in general are greedy and money-driven pieces of shit. Not Jewish people, but fucking bankers and like fucking Wall Street people, right? And so that's what they do. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God. Boom. All of a sudden, here's where we come to. And so now it's a fantasy trope rather than like an anti-Semitic thing, like actively. But it's interesting to bring up, and this is what started the deep platforming of J.K. Rowling.
Dobby's like, Dobby doesn't have anything against Jews.
Lord. Oh,
Dobby doesn't understand.
Yeah, Dobby Tubman, the first freed slave, right?
Dobby doesn't know.
This is what gets Jay in trouble. If I say Dobby Tubman leading us to freedom.
That's so funny.
Y'all ain't celebrating Elf History Month?
Elf history.
It's February.
Harry Potter.
Well, elves are white, the white trope usually. But I guess the Dobby the elf. He's saying Dobby the elf. I guess they have a different depiction of elves. Traditionally, like elves, like more high elves in traditional fantasy media are white tropes.
And the Reichstag fire.
Oh, no.
All right, this is gonna be a choppy edit.
Yeah, man. So isn't that crazy? And so this individual, the skip intro person, I don't know if it was intentional or not. That's not what the page is looking for. I don't know if it was intentional or not. But this skip intro individual is creating a series
This
and just
video is
using
brought-
any information that aligns with them. It's incredible how like this is where the claims that J.K. Rowling was anti-Semitic. Then Jon Stewart was like, no, that's not what we meant. And now he's getting attacked by people like this person who are just like anti-Jon Stewart. That's it. That's why they're getting attacked for defending, being like, we never meant to say it like that. It's like this person just learned that fucking goblins are an anti-Semitic trope. This person who fucking very clearly plays like World of Warcraft. Like, I know you look like you play fucking World of Warcraft, so stop. Right? Isn't that incredible? It's fucking incredible stuff, dude. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.